Hello and welcome to IT automation in the insurance industry. Today's webinar is sponsored by Red Hat and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get started with today's great content, there are a few housekeeping items that I want to share with you to help you get the most out of this session. First off, we really want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might experience. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know there in the Q&A, and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. And I'd especially like to call your attention to a link to learn more about how Red Hat supports the insurance industry. That's right up there at the top of the list. Also down inside the list, you can find some actual tech resources like our Gorilla Guide Book Club, the ATM Decisions Group, and our ATM Event Center. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and your colleagues. Now, finally, at the end of the webinar event, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the very bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. We have Jeff Picozzi, Global Insurance Lead for Red Hat, and Lee Rich, Automation Strategist at Red Hat. So I'm going to turn things over to Jeff to get us started.
Welcome everybody to the IT automation in the insurance industry, strategies for delivering business value. I am very lucky to be joined today by Lee Rich, who is the Red Hat Automation Strategist. Lee has a background in financial services, has spent the 20 plus years working with customers and leading hands-on workshops, and has a very deep technical knowledge of what we're going to be discussing on the IT automation side. My name is Jeff Picozzi. I'm the Global Insurance Lead. I run the product and marketing group for Red Hat's financial services. Spent the better part of 20 years doing so. I started my career in the insurance industry and survived such things as Solvency II. So I have a fair amount of background in the industry. And what we're going to do today is kind of talk to and about our experiences in the insurance industry as it relates to IT automation, and hopefully give you some best practices and some thoughts on the matter from a Red Hat point of view. So with that, we're going to move on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just preface things by giving up some insurance trends and where we think the market is kind of focused, or actually what we've heard about from where the market is focused. And what we've seen is that insurers, like most industries, they're focused on some of the same areas that other industries are. They're focused on delivering faster innovation, increasing efficiency, reducing costs, things of that nature. And in fact, if you look at any of the annual studies that have been done over the last decade, what you see is that trends are the top 10, top 5 top of mind CIO trends in the insurance industry. They're always kind of the same. They trade places in the top 5, but for the most part, what you see is improved customer experience, reducing cost, efficiency, reduction of risk at a regulatory level is always kind of on that list as well. But while the high level descriptions of those things transfer to other industries, the insurance industry actually has some unique areas where these trends are very specific, and they have specific challenges that are also a little bit linked together. So according to research from Forrester, there was a 70% of insurance decision makers, software decision makers, to be honest, worldwide, they said that reducing cost would be a top priority going into 2023. But you have to understand that reducing cost at the expense of innovation, or even adding operational burden, is part of the balance that needs to be reconciled with insurers, right? So insurers of all sizes and product lines, they come to realize that the path to modernization requires that strategy. And while that strategy can start small, it needs to have the enterprise in mind. Or what happens is that it's destined to kind of fall short of really reaching its full potential. Automation is actually no different. So insurers have been looking to automate processes for decades, probably even longer than that. After all, insurers they're built on process. What is a claims process? What is an underwriting process? Core systems within the insurance industry, they're all built on these intricate processes. So it makes sense for the insurance industry to look at automation as being extremely beneficial. So there's no wonder why automation is a hot topic. But that brings us up to where we are today. So with that, I'm going to bring in Lee, and he's been helping financial services customers develop and implement their IT automation strategies. And he's going to talk about some of the challenges that we've seen with the insurance industry today, and helping us kind of the organizations shift to meet them. So with that, we're going to go on with the show. That was a little bit of a preamble. We're going to get right into what is our first question. Insurers are guilty of having automation silos. In many instances, different product lines will have different core systems, as I said. So they have pockets of automation that is typical. So our first question, and then I'll let Lee jump right in and get to it, is what is preventing insurance companies from basically automating everything?
Yeah, so the good thing, like you said, Jeff, is that insurance companies, they are trying to automate in a lot of different places, but they're doing it everywhere in pockets. So they're very siloed, and being very siloed, there's no governance, there's no auditability, there's no control. And most importantly, there's no sharing of that automation. So it's very inefficient. The whole point of automating is leveraging what another team or another group have already built. And then, you can take that and build on top of that instead of having 6, 7, 20 teams build everything from scratch. And so, when you are not, you don't have a centralized automation platform, you spend a lot of your time building that platform, maintaining that platform, and just creating a million pieces of automation that does exactly the same things. And so in the time and cost, customers think, when they're small and they start automating, it's easy for people to automate in different pockets, and it's not a big deal. They'll centralize later. But the time and cost to unwind all of that automation and centralize later is not insignificant, and not without a lot of complexity and risk as well.
Just as a follow-up, so let me ask: within financial services and insurers are included, do we often see kind of like a pocket automation approach kind of run wild, right, for a number of years, right? You had mentioned it takes time for them to unwind. Is that sometimes one of the challenges that we see on a regular basis?
Yeah, that happens a lot. And one of the largest banks that I worked with, they had an automation solution, and what they ended up was they realized they had certain automation playbooks or scripts that basically did the same thing, but they had like 65,000 versions of them. And so trying to, a few years later, trying to figure out which one to use and which one is not good anymore, takes a significant amount of time, including all of that wasted effort for people to create those 65,000 scripts to begin with.
No, that's nobody needs that many. Well, yeah, you would hope that they wouldn't default to that many. Okay, so no, so thank you. So that's great. I wanted to shift because a little bit, but it's still within the same theme, right? So it's how do they kind of break through that, because what we've seen is within insurance companies, along with a lot of other financial services companies, is that their efforts to move to the cloud kind of mimics their kind of pocket mentality, right? So where a pocket exists and they become really really good at certain things, they're more readily able to move to the cloud, whereas if the automation and there's a lot of other legacy that happens to be there, then it's a little bit more cumbersome to do so. So I wanted to at least introduce the topic of what we have at Red Hat have done within a use case here at AIA, and I'll explain to it in a second, and then how that translates into what you were talking about in their journey to the cloud, right? So just as a background, AIA is one of the largest insurers in the APAC region. A couple of years ago, they had a goal to migrate 90% of their workloads to the cloud. So, and like a lot of insurers, the majority of the company's IT infrastructure was on-prem. Because they had a mostly decentralized organization, provisioning new service environments required a lot of time. It was based on many manual processes, actually. So, but AIA made the decision to use an automation platform to automate the manual provision process, and it essentially it allows them to consistently create environments to develop, test, and deliver services to the market, and it speeds up that migration process. So the question now that is here is how can IT automation help insurers move to the cloud? Is this a typical journey?
Yeah, automation helps a lot of customers move to the cloud, and we work with a lot of customers that are on that path. And what we find is that if you don't, perform these tasks in a certain order, you fall into what we call a valley of death. And so, the IT automation is the foundation of all the other tasks, from networking, network automation to migrating to containers, migrating apps to containers. And if we find that customers, if they don't build that automation muscle memory with foundational tasks and processes, and they try to skip past that and move directly to something much more complex, like migrating their apps to the cloud, basically they don't progress as fast as they want to, and a lot of times they fail. And so you need to build those foundational skills and technical operational excellence skills before you try to tackle something as complex as migrating to a cloud or the hybrid cloud.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to avoid the valley of death. Doesn't sound like where you want to be. Just as a follow up, one of the things that we've seen is it's easy to see how insurance companies end up because insurers have the product lines are naturally built within silos, right? There's I've always said that many industries have always kind of put upon the saying of we need to break down the silos. We need to break down the silos. Sometimes there's silos that exist within insurance organizations that exist for a reason, right? So within product lines, there are certain silos. So getting through those pockets can be a little bit challenging at times. But I wanted to ask you about the, in regards to like a shadow IT solution where different automation tools or even different, a different We'll just say a different automation tool or a different element is being used by some other group. Is that something that is preventing, that consistent platform from taking hold as well?
Yeah, so there'll always be, I guess, product silos, like you say, but the silos that we're trying to break is basically organizational silos. So, the whole DevOps concept is all about communicating and being able to communicate from devs, from dev to ops to networking. And so automation can provide that common language that all of those different teams can talk to and speak to one another. And so that's the type of silos that Red Hat automation is trying to break.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So there are options that are out there, whether they be using the Red Hat automation tool or others, right? And we just looked at how AIA made the decision to kind of go with one enterprise automation platform, and it allowed them to be consistent across their business. But making the choice is also kind of a process. It ranges from being using anything from free to all the way over to proprietary software or automation tools. What should insurers be looking for in the automation platform specifically?
They should be looking for an automation platform that the entire company can use. We find people are the efficiency multipliers within a company. And so the more people that are using that automation, the more gains that the company receives from automation. So, users need to be able to easily consume that automation, develop that automation, and more importantly, share that automation with one another and with other teams.
So are we talking about the differences between using an unsupported version versus a supported version?
Yeah, so that that's a part of it as well. A supported centralized version of automation provides the governance, auditability, provides the controls that companies need. Working with the insurance companies, I know that the two things that are really important to insurance companies are basically brand recognition. That's how their customers select a insurance company. So that's why you see all of those like silly ads, so that they stick in the consumers' minds when they're trying to choose an insurance company. And then the second thing is basically trust and security. That the consumers will choose an insurance company that they trust will pay a claim when it's needed, and when they have an accident or whatever. So selecting an enterprise product that's supported by by a reputable company, it's basically insurance for your IT operations, and it's something that protects your company's brand, protects your company's security, and basically consumers' trust in that brand.
So do we still see the what essentially is the unsupported or the AWX version of Ansible in financial services? Is it more of a they don't know that they still have it floating around there, or was it always a conscious choice?
Yeah, we do see it. We don't see it a ton, but we do see it, and it's typically it starts at the grassroots level. different groups are using it. They find they see how powerful it is, how efficient it is. They continue using it. Whereas the enterprise and security folks don't even know that what's happening, what's going on at that grassroots level. And even though these different groups are benefiting from the automation, they don't realize how much more they could be benefiting if they were using a more centralized supported platform, and they didn't have to spend all of their time managing and supporting that unsupported automation solution that they built.
Right. So it's an automation solution that still requires some manual intervention because it's unsupported, which seems to be kind of some circle logic going there. Although I will give you a lot of credit.
I have another story. The largest bank in the world. Anybody can look that up, but they were a shop that liked to build their own things, and they had a lot of brilliant people working there. In fact, they had like over 65,000 developers within this company. And you would think, if any company could use and take an open source product, unsupported product, package it, and use it successfully, you would think they would. And they did for 2 or 3 years. They used their own product. And until a couple of years ago, their security department ran an audit, and they found a huge vulnerability in what this team built. And what they built had cost them tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that they had to end up scrapping and bringing in a supported enterprise automation product anyways.
Yeah, I can just imagine everybody out there Googling largest bank in the world to make sure that they know which one it is. No, it's a good story. It's out there to as a cautionary, right? So I mean, I think that when you're looking at it, it does go back to what should you be looking for. It's looking at an enterprise solution, one that is secure, especially as you had said. It's a great callback. It's a good line. You're in we're talking to insurers. Who knows insurance better than the insurer? There is an industry built on evaluating risk. Is that where you want your risk to be in an automation platform that may not have the proper support to be where it needs to be? So it's an excellent point. Okay, so as we jump in, I wanted to make sure that we had at least a little bit of time to talk about security, because as we've referenced in a number of areas, is that what we have is these pockets of automation that kind of pop up. And I think that it's good that they pop up because you need to have these small areas where they can be proven and it can expand on, so that you can grow the muscle memory that you also alluded to as well. But as these things they grow from being they start small and often in groups. Security is sometimes considered a little bit separate. It's almost if it needs to have different methods and different tools. Can insurers use the same methods that are used to automate the network to automate the enterprise security level?
Yeah, definitely. And automation enforces all of those security policies in a number of different ways. They can enforce the security policies directly on operating systems and hardware devices and networking devices and whatever. They also I worked with another company who had a security agent that runs on all of their systems within their environment, like over 200,000 systems. And at any point in time, 5 to 7% of those agents were not operational and reporting back to that central security server. And so that presented a huge risk to that financial organization. And they used Ansible to go out there and either restart that agent, and if that wasn't successful, to uninstall and reinstall that agent to make sure that all of those security agents that were running within the organization were operational and reporting back to the central server.
Well, that's I can see where just given the the strictness of regulators within the financial services industry, insurers are absolutely no different. They just have, the regulator just has a different acronym, right? In most cases, where they're coming in and they're looking at your systems as to how are they being addressed from a built-in compliance or a governance capability as to how they're being remediated if and when something goes wrong. It seems like Ansible is a tool that you can at least do. You can have those security capabilities that are part of that solution. And is it something that needs to be transferred over, or do you see that when it starts in IT, if you're using Ansible for network on the configuration side, I mean, who needs to bring that over? Is it like a senior managed lever that needs to get pulled down and said, well, it works here, it moves over here, or do you just looking for skill transfers to move them over?
Yeah, typically what we see is in the networking space, it's the network engineering team are the ones that define the configurations, define the processes. They if you start with the automation at that point, when they hand the devices over to operations, operations can use exactly the same playbooks that engineering had built and had used to test their devices. So it makes it a lot easier. There's no lost in translation, no miscommunication when handing these mops or methods of operational procedures or whatever from one team to the other.
Nice, excellent. I think that's part of what we were discussing about when you were talking about not necessarily the product silos that exist, but being able to create a consistent platform, being able to use the same tools, speak the same languages, being able to hand off at the appropriate level. I think that there's a tremendous amount of utility, cost savings, efficiency. It hits on all of those things. Not to mention the fact that if it's applied correctly at the enterprise level, you are able to get to things faster, right? So if it's not just IT for IT's sake, right? The faster that you get, the more consistent that you get in the automation at that level, the faster you're able to innovate and deliver services to your customers. So everything is connected. Nothing is actually is outside of that realm. I think that this is a
and also the Ansible automation platform, the enterprise automation product, has a lot of built-in integrations with a variety of technologies as well. So a number of security solutions and products out there talk directly to AAP. So those partners will support that integration along with Red Hat to make sure that the products are talking to each other, are working properly, and and that issues are resolved quickly if an issue is found. Otherwise, if you're using something that's unsupported, that's part of the work of having to build all of that integration yourself and supporting that integration with the other technologies that you're using. within your company.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, so this is actually the last of our allotted questions, but I think it's actually one of the more interesting ones because it's a little bit on the future, projection side. Everyone's out there talking about AI, and everyone's talking about how it can be used. So here's the stat, right? So KPMG had some analysis that was done and said that essentially that the insurance industry spent about $80 billion on AI capabilities just in 2020, and then obviously that number is expected to grow. So while many point to AI use cases within the industry for like customer personality types, so they want to make sure that they're becoming hyper personal, or detecting fraud in real time, predicting claim values, things of that nature, which are great use cases for development of AI models. Is there another area where an enterprise-wide strategy can be, obviously the enterprise strategy needs to be leveraged for AI, but are there particular things that can be done right now with AI for automation? So how do we tie those two together? Is there anything in the works, or your thoughts on that would be awesome?
Yeah, there is, and this is a super exciting area for automation. So those same things, fraud prevention, all of that stuff is finally coming to the data center. Automation, I've seen automation has been like an evolution. Customers first used automation to configure and deploy their servers and their devices. The second part of that has been self-healing infrastructure, so that now when a device or a server goes down or there's a problem detected, that an automation is triggered to try to resolve or correct that issue. The next step after that, and it's something that Red Hat will have a product for at the end of the year, I believe, is event-driven automation. So there's a lot of decision points that need to happen when you pair automation with monitoring solutions. So you might get an alert from a monitoring solution that a network port is flapping for whatever reason. You don't want to deploy automation immediately to resolve that issue because it might not be an issue. You want the ability for your automation to make decisions like, if this port flaps 5 times within 45 seconds, fire off this an automation to collect additional information, and then once you have that additional information, evaluate the status of the of the server, of the networking gear before performing other automation functions, basically. And so that's the next level of automation, so that you're removing all of the decision making of a person completely out of the loop, and that's when you'll be able to perform complete end-to-end automation by doing that.
And I think that's look, I mean, everything evolves, and getting to that end-to-end automation is actually, has always been, it has been the goal. The closer you can get to taking out the manual is where the true automation starts. So I appreciate you giving me a little bit of something to look forward to when it comes to IT automation. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to provide a couple of closing thoughts. I'm going to give it back to you, Lee, one more time. I'm going to tee it up by saying, if you could spend 30 seconds, 60 seconds with an insurer out there, and they ask you what's going on in IT automation and how can Red Hat help, the floor is yours.
Sure. automation is really exciting. Automation, customers are receiving a lot of benefits through automation, and they realize it. The thing I just want to close with is basically, if your company's core competency is not building an automation platform, uh, you know, you should probably think about, offloading that to another company that where their core competency is providing that platform instead of trying to build it yourself. And you not only receive the support, but you also receive the guidance that that company provides by working with um, similar customers as yourself on the best way to automate. What you should be focusing on, how you should be automating, as opposed to figuring all of that out on your own.
Hmm. I would add that they get someone like you to kind of help them with their automation strategy, and I think that it is your job, right? It may not be their
Mhm.
but that is exactly why you're here working with us. So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. I did want to point out that we do have a couple of things that you can, if you're looking for additional information, that's out there. There's the IT Executive Guide to Automation that can be downloaded from the website. Also, if you're looking for more information about the AIA case study about how they delivered their cloud first strategy using Red Hat's automation platform to help them get to the cloud, please, you can go out and look at that. That was a paper produced by IDC on our behalf. And with that, Lee, I'm going to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to walk through IT automation. I really enjoyed it, and we'll talk to everybody
Right.
next time.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, and thanks, Jeff and Lee, for putting together a really informative discussion there. We really appreciate your time today. And once again, if anyone would like to learn more, please do click on the link in the handout section. That link is for learning more about how Red Hat supports the insurance industry. And before we wrap up, we have one more piece of business. It's the Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of that $250 Amazon gift card today is Ian Slade from Virginia. So congratulations to Ian Slade. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Red Hat for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.